Hello everyone, my name is Ellen Thompson-Jennings. I call myself the Family History Hound, and I write a blog called The Hound on the Hunt, and you can find a link to that blog in the show notes below. I've tested at all of the 5 major DNA companies, and I also look after and manage many of my family members' DNA kits. I always tell my children, you're not going to get a lot of you're not going to get an inheritance, you're going to get a lot of genealogy and DNA information. So I started this new series called Let's Explore DNA. I hope you like what you see, and if you do, please subscribe and be sure to click that bell so that you can be advised of any new videos that I post. So this presentation is called What's in Your DNA at MyHeritage, and specifically we're going to look at the theory of relativity. The other day I received a message from Daniel Horowitz from MyHeritage letting me know that there had been an update to the theory of relativity. Now they do this from time to time. They have these updates because they sell a lot of kits, they have a lot of uploads, they have new trees being created daily, and they have millions and millions of records being added all the time. And so that changes the theories, or not necessarily changes, but it would add new theories for some people. So with this update, Daniel let me know that there was 25,636,711 new theories of family relativity. And that's huge. So I thought, well, I'm going to have a little peek at mine and see what I can see. So in this case, you can go to your DNA overview page, and you can get there by clicking on this DNA little button, and it'll take you to the overview. And then the next thing you want to do is go to your DNA matches. And you can do that by clicking this button or this button here. Now what that's going to do is take you to this screen. And you'll see I have that big banner there that says that I have a theory of relativity and that it's new. But if I didn't have that, or maybe I had a theory of relativity before, but I didn't get any new ones, then another way you can always look at your theory of relativity is by going to your match page and then going to filters and then to the tree detail, and you'll see you have this button where you can see your theory of family relativity. I actually have 3 theories of family relativity, but we're just going to look at 2 here, one from Kathleen and one from Richard. Now the one from Kathleen I know that I've had for a little while because it doesn't have that new button that Richard does. So we're going to look at this in just a second. Now you also notice that both of these kits, I don't share a lot of DNA with them. The higher the number, the closer you are to that match. So in this case, Kathleen is only 28.5 centimorgans and Richard is 14.8 centimorgans. But we still might be able to figure out how we connect. So we're going to view that theory for Kathleen. So when we look at the theory of relativity that I have with Kathleen, I see that I have 4 paths. Now you can have more than one theory of relativity with a person. I don't have any of those situations, but you may, you might, because you might connect to somebody in more than one way. But in my case, I don't have that. So but I do have 4 different paths that I maybe connect to Kathleen. So you can see here that it starts at the bottom with me, and then it goes up my line to Henry West and Barbara Harmon, who are my 3 times great-grandparents. Then it goes to my 2 times great-grandmother's brother, Henry West, and then goes down. Now this is all through, path is all through my tree. And it says that this path is 75% confidence. Then it goes over to another tree, and then it carries on over to another tree, and then finally gets to Kathleen. So that's one path. And so we're not going to look at all 4 paths. We're just going to look at two of the paths. Path number 3 is slightly different. Well, it may look the same, very similar, but it is slightly different. This one is strictly based off of trees and records. So we know that because there are these little buttons. So you can see the brown button represents a tree or a record, and the green button represents a supermatch. And you also see that there's percentages, so that's the confidence level of those items. So again, the brown button is for a tree or a record, and so in this case it's the 1851 census. And for the super match, that is for this tree here. And so a super match is actually where it looks at my tree and compares it to another person's tree, and then you have to confirm whether or not it's correct. So in this case, it says that there's only a 40% confidence level for this path. So if we click on that brown button that represents the 1851 England and Wales census, we will see this information. I have looked at this already, and so I do know that it's correct and it is my family. So I feel pretty confident about that record. And usually I feel confident in the records. I usually, I mean, they're more likely, you know, if they have the correct people and the correct dates and correct places. I feel pretty good about records. Sometimes people's trees are not quite the same because we all know that sometimes trees are inaccurate. But in this case, I know that this record is in fact Hannah West. So now we're going to look at the theory of relativity for Richard. Now in his case, we have 3 paths. Again, we don't have any additional theory of relativities for Richard. We just have the one, but I do have 3 paths. So the first path, there is, it's made out of 3 trees, and there is a 47% confidence level. And a lot of the trees are similar to the ones that we saw for Kathleen. So it's using my tree as well as 2 other trees and weaving its way until we get to Richard and how we connect. Now the next path, path number 2, is a little bit different because in this case it has some records or some trees, family search trees involved. And we see in this case that there's 3 MyHeritage family trees and a 47% confidence level. So we see that button there represents the either a tree or a record, and in this case it's that family search family tree, and it has 100% acceptance of that tree. And there's also a third path, and in this case it's a combination of trees and records like we saw before, where we have the 1851 census. In all of these 3 paths, the common person, and in fact the common person for Kathleen was Hannah West, who was Henry West. We remember that Henry West was my great-grandmother's brother, and then he had a child, Hannah West, and she married someone named Leach, and that's where both Kathleen and Richard come from. They come from different children for Hannah West. Now the only thing left to do is to confirm this theory of relativity. So you have to do the research. You have to look at the records, you have to look at the trees and discover whether or not there's nothing missing out of the tree, you know, people living far too long, or you know, having children long after they're dead and that kind of thing. But once you've decided, then you can confirm. And of course, you're going to do that by looking at the records that you see here, and then you're going to confirm or reject the theory. Now, once you've confirmed or rejected, you can always undo whatever you have done. So don't worry about that. So I've taken the last couple of days to look at the theories that were suggested by the theories of family relativity, and I realized that one of the problems I had in my tree was that I hadn't expanded on the children of Hannah West, who had married the Leach fellow. So I expanded on that family. It was kind of interesting. There was actually one person that was named Spearmint, which I'd never heard as a name, but you know, that wasn't part of the theory of relativity. It was just an interesting fun fact. So I looked at the records, I looked at newspapers, especially like marriage announcements and obituaries and whatnot, and so I could pretty easily put Kathleen in my tree. Richard is a different story. I need to contact him because I think there's some information that I might be missing, but then I would be able to, confirm Kathleen's information, and eventually, hopefully, I'll be able to confirm the theories of family relativity for Richard. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please subscribe and ring that bell so that you can be alerted for upcoming videos, and have a wonderful day.